Wait, do you ever get disappointed when you're showing someone something for the first time and you really want them to get it? And
No,
they
not
don't?
at all. I think
Yes.
Oh.
Matt knew exactly where I was
Absolutely.
going with that question.
I'm clearly an Eeyore.
I'm probably Rue.
I'm a Christopher Robin with a poo rising.
And then I get in a canoe and I'm like, Clairs don't like canoes.
No, they don't.
I'm afraid of this lake.
That's exactly what it was.
Ow.
It was a beautiful moment in our friendship. I was
literally in the middle of getting hers up and down the
Pathetic.
stairs. Ow. I was like, I'm trying to get my hair done. I'm like, God.
I don't think that's an accurate representation of my owl.
Well, you were in such pain you couldn't see clearly. So,
Trauma.
Thank you for listening to the Last Will podcast. I'm Matt Young. I'm a theater educator and a parent. And ever since I lost my father to cancer, I have been mildly obsessed with death. This is my last will and testament. Normally I begin with, such and such author said this, but I have a good quote and it's not attributed to anybody specifically, so I'm going to read you the quote. The quote is, "Spirituality is not about religion. It is about the connection to something greater than ourselves." This week, we are discussing spirituality. I'm joined by the fabulous human being that is my friend, Patrick Duffy. He's such an interesting person. I think you're really going to get a lot out of his perspective. We have a really good time diving deep into many different things. So I hope you enjoy this discussion that I have with Patrick about spirituality. If you're in desperate need of a quote, here's one. Helen Keller once said, "Life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all." That's what came up for spirituality. Mahatma Gandhi said, "In a gentle way, you can shake the world." Deepak Chopra said, "In the midst of movement and chaos, keep stillness inside of you." Those are all quotes about spirituality, but they don't mention spirituality. But I think you know it's about spirituality. I'm going to say that word one more time. Spirituality. Guess what this episode is? Enjoy. The word has lost all of its meaning. I said it so many times. It's that semantic satiation. I've said the word so many times that when I hear it, it just doesn't sound right. Anyways, again, enjoy. All right, we're rolling.
Okay.
We are rolling. Should we check the levels?
Check the levels.
I think your levels are good.
We are leveled up.
Hi, everybody. I'm here today with a very, very close friend of mine, and his name is Patrick Duffy. Hi, Patrick.
Hi, Matt.
How are you?
I'm well. I'm very happy and excited to be here.
I'm so happy that you're here.
Aw.
I wouldn't call it a guest host, but like I guess you're a guest host. You're just my friend here, coming to talk about cool stuff.
I would like to think that also because I just don't really know what the hell is going on, so I'm just going to be a hospitable guest.
Yeah, no, Patrick just came over. He just came over to say hi, and then I put him down in the seat, and I pushed a microphone in front of his face. And he said, "What are we doing?" I was like, "Just shut up and talk." And so that's where we are.
This Velcro that you have around me is also very tight. I can't get out.
Well, you know, Velcro is not just for astronauts. That's what I always say. Today, Patrick and I are going to talk about spirituality, which is a topic that we haven't covered and is really, I don't know, important. Or it's corny, or it's cliche. Oftentimes, people are like, "I'm not religious, I'm spiritual." And sometimes I'm like, "Oh yeah, you are a spiritual person." And then other times I'm like, "Oh my God, you're full of horseshit." Why am I so judgy, Patrick? You don't have to answer that.
No, I don't think I can answer that. And yeah, I can't answer that.
Yeah, no, that's all right. So we usually like to start off with the definition of spirituality.
I can't wait to hear this one.
Yes, this is where we like to begin. Spirituality generally refers to a personal or individual experience of connection to something greater than oneself, which may involve a search for meaning, purpose, and inner peace. It often encompasses beliefs and practices related to the soul, consciousness, or the divine, and can be expressed through religion, meditation, nature, art, or personal reflection. Spirituality can be secular or religious, or may emphasize personal growth, ethical living, and the interconnectedness of all life. The interconnectedness of all life. You know what that is?
All things are one.
That's the Force.
Yes, it is, and I
Yes.
think we're going to be talking about that on May the 4th.
Yes. So what do you think? What do you think of that definition?
That's a long definition, and there are there's a good bit of meat in it. There are many things that made me raise my eyebrows and ask, really? And there are more things in there that made me say, yeah, I believe that is true.
So what's the first thing that made you raise your eyebrow? Or eyebrows?
Let me see that.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, unfortunately, my memory is not as good as it used to be. That's right. Okay, right off the bat. A personal or individual experience
Okay.
made me raise my eyebrow. As when I first heard that, I heard something happening once. And that it ended, an experience being something that's finite. While my own experience, how about using that word again?
One more time, and you get a set of steak knives.
Excellent.
Oh,
Excellent.
get your jokes out, Matthew. Come
Here
on,
we go.
stop stumbling.
Okay, we're all stumbling right here.
It does
Well,
say just.
I have a belief that spirituality is an ongoing thing,
Okay.
and it's one. It exists within someone, and there's there may be a choice as to whether to embrace it at certain times,
I
and
think
other
maybe-
times to let it go.
maybe a plural would have helped. An individual's experience of connection to something greater than oneself.
And that's as soon as it moved into a connection greater than oneself was where the eyebrow did go down.
Oh, okay. So you relaxed the forehead.
I did relax the
Relax
forehead.
the brow.
Yes, the quizzical look to it. And I'll go right back to that question that you asked me earlier: is why am I being so judgy? And I have I do the best that I can. To listen to somebody when they're expressing their religious or, in this case, spiritual beliefs, so that I can hear them from a place of lack of judgment.
Yeah. No, I get that. It's hard for me because I don't think I've experienced enough religious people who didn't preach their religion as a way for all to obey,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that may even be a key word there is like there's a difference between respect and obedience, right? And I feel like modern religion, maybe, and not spiritualism, is about being obedient to somebody's interpretation of a book of stories cobbled together 30 years after a so-called Messiah had passed away.
Cool.
I don't know. So if somebody's religion is really important to them, I really respect that. A gentleman that I work with is Muslim, and I'm constantly asking him questions and curious about his religion and how it works for him and how he goes through Ramadan. And I just love that aspect of it. And he's curious about my Judaism. And, I tell him that I'm a little bit lapsed, but like we talk about it, and we're a Jew and a Muslim in, the education system. And we are bonded as tight as I'm bonded with anybody at work. Because of our curiosity and because that we don't push either of these things on each other. It's just something that supports our way of life. So I have a great respect for him. I guess in my life, in politics, in the world, religion is used to other people. Religion is used to hurt people, tell them that they're wrong, restrict women's rights, all of this stuff that it's hard for me to get behind. And so I think within the last decade, 20 years, the idea of like I'm spiritual, not religious, has become the way I live. So maybe I need to punch myself in the face. I don't know.
So now you're judging yourself.
Yeah.
And I love that you went there right away. There is in other places that I've been, I've heard people say that religion is for those who fear hell, and spirituality is for those who have been there. And there's some validity in that.
Yeah. I think we wrapped it up. Thank you for coming in.
And we'll see you all next week. There's a scholar, a theologian scholar, and someone who was very, very active in the 70s and the 80s in the men's personal growth movement, a guy named Robert Moore. And he wrote this wonderful book that was called, that dealt with individual and spiritual grandiosity.
Okay.
It's a fabulous book. And I'll think the title of it, the full title of it, before we end this podcast.
All right, good.
And when I do, I'm just going to shout it out loud and blow out everybody's eardrums. And something that he speaks to specifically is around the grandiosity that can be found in some major religions. A good many of them are more Western religions, more Christian.
Right.
And how the power of the group can start to really become toxic from within. And that's where many religions may, in fact, overstep the bounds of what spirituality is. And the last thing that I love that's in that definition is that the understanding that all things are connected, and I had said all things are one,
right.
That all things are one is lost. And it's the group that becomes greater than others, whether it's based on fear or the need to feel superior,
right?
And how those groups, those specific religions or sects of religions, may impose their will upon others and believe that only their way is right and all others are wrong. It's a fabulous read, and it is. Oh man, I left my phone in my pocket, so I can't Google it, which is too bad.
He has no pockets on him right now.
I have no pockets on me right now. It's in the pocket of my jacket, which is draped over the chair. Forget it. I'm
he's
caving. I'm going to get it.
He's wearing a jumper.
Yes.
So anybody who knows Patrick knows that that's not true.
No, it's not true.
I'd like to see you in a jumper, though. It made me think while you were talking. I've always I have strayed from my religion. I feel like I'm a little closer to my Judaism now than I have been in a while, but I was not close to it. And there was this thing that I used to tell myself during that period, which was like, if I choose Judaism for myself, I mean, I don't choose it. I was born that way. But like, if I say that it's right, then I'm saying everything else is wrong. And I didn't want to be on the side of saying that one is right and one is wrong. That there is a right and there is a wrong. I didn't want to be a part of that what I thought, I don't know, my pretentious self was like, I don't want to be part of that bullshit. So
Yep.
that's what it made me think about when you were talking, was like choosing one being right, one being wrong, and that there seems to be within our society here in the West a very, very clear, you're on the side of good or the side of evil, and yet it seems very clear that the people who think they're on the good side have been demonstrating so much evil. Or even like, let's fucking call a spade a spade. Like, the teachings of Jesus they're not, it doesn't seem like they're being practiced.
Okay.
Often.
Okay.
By people who are touting their religion as the most important thing in their life and how they're making their votes and stuff like that.
I don't disagree with that.
So,
the title of that book, by the way, by a man named Robert Morris, is Facing the Dragon.
it's a good title.
It's an excellent title. Confronting personal and spiritual grandiosity. It's an excellent read. Anyhow,
Do you think
I love what you're talking about of the good versus bad, good versus evil, and that it's about conquering evil. And what something else that was in that definition around personal growth.
Right.
And I'm a person who was raised with the name Patrick Duffy. You could just imagine the way that I was raised. I was raised
Protestant.
as no, I was on the other side of the line. So I was raised Catholic.
Was that hurtful? Me even saying it?
No, not at all. Not at all. As my father said many years ago, that has nothing to do with you, and you'll never understand it. That was in reference to the troubles in Northern Ireland. The messages that I got from the Catholic Church were that I had to be perfect, that I had to be good, and and yet inside of me I could see things that were really bad.
Yeah.
And I was afraid of God. I was afraid of being punished, and that made me angry. And I would say that I wanted nothing to do with God because I don't think God wants anything to do with me. And I stopped going to church.
Yeah.
And I prided myself on that.
How old?
Thought I was, oh man, I was in my early 20s.
Okay.
At that point. It really kind of started in my late teens when I really started getting rebellious. And I prided myself in that. I had experiences in my life that brought me to my knees. And I had I had an experience that opened me up to a power greater than myself, a God of my understanding, as one might say. But I do like the power greater than myself, and that was a path that I started to follow. And it wasn't so much about whether it was right or wrong or choosing to be a part of something. I was following something that inspired me,
Right.
that was inspiring me to be a better person. And after at some point during it, I was able to look at Catholicism and and I say the messages that I took on, really the way that I received the things that I was being taught, may very well have been contrary to what the intention around it was. So my mother, who was a very Catholic woman, who went to church multiple times a week, volunteered at the church, who I judged to be a pious bitch, I looked at her and I was able to see how Catholicism worked for her.
Right.
And that truly she was a spiritual person because she was being guided by something else and was doing the best she could to be a better person in the world because of it. So,
But the guidelines for her
that's
were based within the Catholic religion.
Oh yeah, and every once in a while she'd look at me with a snide smile and say, and make some sort of anti-pagan comment to me,
Right.
Because I was a pagan now.
Oh.
And going back to the good and the evil, maybe religions may have started out in this way, is helping people to through growth and to be better people in the world. And it wasn't until that I completely embraced that there is good and evil inside of me that I was truly able to start walking that path, to understand that it wasn't about driving out evil, that it was about being able to recognize it and to turn outside of myself and to be inspired to be a better person, to be better than that.
You brought something up that has always been strange to me, which is that you were afraid of God. And look, my people, the Old Testament, I mean, he's wrathful. There's no doubt. He's got some anger issues. But like the idea that people would use the phrase, you have to be God-fearing. I'm a God-fearing person. Like, to me, that feels like the exact opposite of what the God in my head looks like, or who the God that I speak to or that I spoke to when I was a teenager was. I just never bought into that.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know if it was my Judaism, which just made me think like that Jesus wasn't first of all, Jesus wasn't the Messiah. We're still waiting on the Messiah. So that whole story isn't correct. Kind of gave me the leeway to go, the story hasn't been written yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't like following the teachings of the Old Testament. Mm-hmm. I did observe some of the 10 commandments, 10 commandments for all to obey.
Boom.
I did follow those, but just because I think murder's bad. You know, I just always knew that. I didn't need someone telling me that murder is bad. So, anyways,
Well, think of it this way, like you said, God-fearing man.
Yeah.
Then in Judaism and especially in Christianity, they talk about the ever-loving Father. So what is it? Am I supposed to fear the ever-loving Father? This sounds like an emotionally abusive relationship to me.
Right. Because he's asking you, let's sacrifice your son, and
I love you, and you better be good.
Right.
I mean,
Don't turn around. You'll turn into salt, or I don't know, something happened to your Red Sea. Oh, Job. That was Job. I'm sorry. I got confused.
Easy
so
confusion.
that always felt very, very strange to me. So spirituality seems to be, for me at least, hoping that karma exists. Really. I think I've spent my life hoping that karma exists. I do good deeds for other people because it does make me feel good. I'm not, I've said many times, I buy gifts for people because it makes me feel like, hey, I see you and I want you to feel seen. So it's not totally a giving thing. There is like selfish pursuit in it, but I do good deeds because it makes me feel good. Mm-hmm. Not because I hope goodwill will come my way. It just feels good. Also, like courtesy, kindness, those are all free. It does make me feel good to be kind to people. It doesn't make me feel good to be mean to people, even when I'm frustrated. Like I was so mad in the car the other day. I had a little fit of anger that I was ashamed of immediately because I was like, there's no reason for that to have turned so quick. That doesn't happen to me often, but for whatever reason, that it got me that time.
Yeah.
And I was immediately ashamed of it. I don't like to yell. I can yell. I mean, I think I'm trained. My diaphragm works. It doesn't make me feel good.
Of course.
So I do all of these things and hope that karma exists because I do think that there should be consequences for not bad choices, but actions, bad actions.
Now, how try this on is there's that episode that you had in the car, and there's that moment of evil that was inside of you.
Yes. See, I don't think I'd ever think of it as evil.
Of course, because it sounds so extreme. And yet it was just a yelling episode.
Yep.
How do you really get down to the simple bare bones of it? Yeah. There's that little bit of bad.
Yeah. Can I tell you what happened?
Of
course.
It
was really even worse.
Yeah, do it.
Because it wasn't like anybody did it. I was mad at probably at the GPS. Every once in a while, there's like you're turning into 3 lanes or whatever, or one is like a little side road, and then one is onto the highway, and then one is the straight thing. And I was trying to get back on the highway, and I saw the sign, and then I ignored the sign because the GPS really said take a sharp left or sharp right. And I took the sharp right, and it took me away from the highway that I needed to go.
I took too sharp a right,
and,
or not a sharp enough right.
And I was like, fucking dude.
Oh, do you know how many times I have choked Siri? I have choked Siri in my mind, baby.
But immediately I was like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, sure.
Like, why? You misled me, and I'm mad at you, machine. Although, machine, you are helping me. You are keeping me from Moran McNally and having to drive unsafely while I flip pages to find where the highway is. Moran McNally is an old map, children. So I guess I was possessed by evil for a second. I had I needed
And yet there's some religions that said, well, if you just turned off the machine and you gave it up to God, you'd know the way to go.
Oh, wow.
How about that?
Who would say that?
I don't know. I'm just really trying
Christian
to be
scientists?
funny. I don't think the Christian scientists would say that. No, that I may be referencing the religious right of the United States of America.
It could be true.
And I'm doing my best to withhold all judgments there.
I'm like, I seem to just be blurting it all out.
So
I don't want to continue to like bash religion because like if it works for people, we did a play earlier in the year based upon religion, which I love doing.
Mm-hmm.
I love I love theology.
Mm-hmm.
I love it as a study, but I don't love it as a practice.
Okay.
You know, I love talking about what's happening in Judas Iscariot. Like I love what's happening in the last days of Judas Iscariot. I love the discussions. I love people, what they bring from their upbringing about it. I love all of those discussions. But I haven't seen the practice work in a way that I would gush about to my friends.
Sure.
I guess, and maybe I'm just not around it enough, and so that's on me as well.
You know, there are aspects of it, and I loved it also. I loved listening to a good deal of the deep dives that it would
especially you remember the first time we did it, Johnny Smith, my lovely brother. I guess he came from a Russian.
He's Russian Orthodox.
Yes, and that point of view was always the most amazing to me.
Yes,
like because just stuff I just never even thought of or heard of, and you know.
Well, there were the deep dives that it would take that would call into question some of the teachings of Christianity.
Yes,
that were really thoughtful and could get the mind going. And at the same time, then it would be able to put into perspective some truths around what the teachings are.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing that got interwoven in there, too, were the failures of man.
Yes. Yeah, well, there you go.
You know, if we really look at what Christianity has been filtered down into, is that there have been so many human hands now that have touched it, that have perhaps added their own little spice of what they would like it to mean. Or, let's just augment this so that it fits into this sort of narrative that will work in with the world, that who knows how much really has been lost.
Right.
As opposed to what has been added.
So Stephen Adly Gurgis wrote The Last Days of Judas Iscariot. And I think you're right on the money. I think he's talking about the failures of man. I mean, he's talking about a lot of different things. And you could tell this man went to Catholic school.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
He knows the stories inside and out. But so interesting, it was kind of like formed by man back in the day. Men were the ones who wrote the Gospels. Men were the...
Well, initially men wrote the Gospels.
Yeah.
And then more men got a hold of it and changed some of them.
Yep.
And then more men got a hold of those changes and changed it again. You know, and who knows what was taken out or put back in and added and all
they
kinds
said
of stuff.
they found a Gospel of Judas at some point.
I
I don't know if it was the Dead Sea Scrolls. I may be talking out of my ass. But there was a book that I was listening to on tape that really was getting into it. And it was a little slow, and I didn't stick with it as much as I should have.
Yep.
But it was definitely something I did in my research as Judas Iscariot. It was a chubby Judas. What can I say?
Hey, you're a refined Judas,
thank
baby.
Thank you. So let's get back to spirituality. I trust in karma. I want things to be connected. To me, that's my spirituality. And then I believe in not more than anybody else, but locally I am a proprietor of, I am a dealer of faith and discovery when it comes to creativity.
Yeah.
I'm a pusher. I push discovery more than anything in my creativity.
Yes.
Which is the most spiritual place that I find myself in often. As a director, I don't come at it with a solid, this is going to sound awful, a solid idea. No, I don't come at it with like thought out ways that this play has to be done. I'm not trying to fit you into quote unquote my vision of what the show should be, because I think that that's horseshit. What I come to you with is I come to you with ideas. I try to inspire you, and then I try to give you the tools in order for you to discover. I don't have the fear in things that scare me, like Curious Incident, which scared the fuck out of me because I didn't know how we were going to do it. I just had faith in discovery. I have faith in the fact that we will figure it out. If we dedicate ourselves to process, we will figure it out. That's the most spiritual thing I do.
And I don't think that it's a coincidence that you would use the word faith.
No, I think you're absolutely right.
You know, there's you know, and what it and you know, truly, what is the opposite of faith? Of course, would be fear. And you know, there's
Is it really?
That's what many folks would say, and that's what I'm going to use for right now.
Okay.
I think I genuinely believe that you could take a room full of people and get at least 5 different ideas of what the opposite of faith is. But one that I hear very often, and one that is often true for me, is that the opposite of faith is fear.
Okay.
You know, where when I'm in a place of fear, it becomes much more about me and what it is that I want and what I need to get and what I have to have and what needs to happen in order for me to feel safe and to have that control over what's going on around me, as opposed to when I have faith that things will work. And very often the faith in that case also involves other people.
Right.
Is I'm much more open to other people's ideas. I'm much more in that place of sharing, like what you were speaking about.
Mm-hmm.
And it really becomes more of a collaboration, and it really becomes more of people working together, bringing different ideas and bringing different beliefs and wants, so that we may be able to create what needs to happen, as opposed to being dictating what has to happen. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. I think it's a beautiful place to. I mean, you call it has anybody called it the Church of Theater? I mean, is it?
Well, they have now.
But it's like there's a reason you can call a theater, or you can think of a theater as a church, a place of worship, a place where faith is residing in full, because you have to figure these things out. I think art, when it works its best, is based in not religious faith, but in faith of discovery and
both of us have witnessed people discover new parts of themselves while rehearsing
yes,
roles and being challenged to go to places that they may be afraid to go to or have never thought to go to before, and find something new.
right.
I've seen it happen to people of different ages.
And I think people would go like, "Oh, I think he had they would use it tongue in cheek. Oh, he had a religious experience."
Sure.
Yeah.
I think it really is more of a spiritual experience.
No, but just using it as a metaphor.
I guess so, or a cliche.
Yeah, well, definitely a cliche.
It's definitely cliche.
Definitely a cliche. Yeah, I think most of my spirituality outside of when I studied to be a Jedi.
That old religion.
Yes, I was in London when I was mostly studying it.
Which, of course, those who did not believe in the Force within Star Wars did refer to it as a religion.
That's true. That hokey old religion.
Hokey old religion.
I think it has lived in me more than anything in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
That just idea of not knowing. Obviously it's a huge part of what faith is. Faith is not having the answers but still believing, right?
Yes.
So I don't have the answers usually when we go into here, but I believe that if we are disciplined in our craft, if we open ourselves up to the idea of discovery, if we come ready to play and listen to each other, all of those things will figure itself out. And I look towards Curious Incident. As you know, on those of you who've listened to this before, we talk about that play often. Patrick was a huge part of that play. He played Ed the father. I'm sure we've talked about it before, but just as I'm bringing in the context of Curious, it was Ed, right?
Yeah, I was Ed.
Looked at me like,
sorry, I haven't heard you talk about it, so this is
right. So yes, on this thing we talk about it a lot, and Grady talks about it a lot because it was religious experience.
It was a spiritual experience.
It was the best, I think, of what we do and believe in when it comes to creativity, which was this play that I had been trying to get off the ground for a long time, asking people, can I have an opportunity to do it? pitching it to theaters and stuff like that, and everybody being afraid because they knew that they couldn't do the Broadway production. And I knew that we couldn't do the Broadway production, and I wasn't really interested in doing the Broadway production, but I knew that it scared the hell out of me trying to figure out what would work. And that's why I really wanted to do it. I was lucky to assemble the right group of people willing to take that leap of faith and discover what it was. And it went through so many different variations. A beautiful example of how poverty inspires creativity was a huge part of what landed us on what we finally ended up with as a set, for sure, which definitely dictated how we went about polishing what our blocking was and everything. But they're drawings for forever. I wanted to have, do you know what an ollie is?
I don't think I do.
So an ollie is like a model of the universe, right?
Okay.
And each planet is on a little like arm, and you could spin
yeah,
it
sure.
around.
Okay, I never knew it was called.
Yeah,
that.
it's called an ollie. I was like, oh my god, can we make an ollie? Can this set be an ollie? Can he be? Can we be pushing planets all around? And that would be kind of the mechanical thing that would help us understand Chris's experience. And I did drawings, and I was like, can we make this happen? And then we had a designer come in, and we talked to him about it. And then he read the play. He was like, oh, this isn't for me. Fucking coward.
Oh,
like,
no.
Fucking coward. He does a lot of designing around here and stuff like that. But like, why would you, like, you can design. Say there's a show that almost all the theaters have done. You can think of whatever that is. Maybe I'm not thinking of anything specific, but like say Ken Ludwig wrote it or something like that, or it's a musical that why would you want to design something that everybody has designed already?
Yes.
When you can have like a clean palette and themes and ideas and be able to work in the abstract. Why wouldn't you want to take a leap of faith on that? Why wouldn't you want to take a shot at that?
Why would you want to remake the Broadway production on a community theater stage?
Yeah, yes. To think that that's the only thing that could happen is very, very, very silly.
Yes, agreed.
But we went through this idea and that idea, and then I was like, how do we make it? I wanted to make it a planetarium, and I was like, how do we make it a planetarium? And then this won't work. And then I was like, what if it was just an astronomy classroom? Is there an astronomy classroom? And then I would look for pictures of what an astronomy classroom would look like. And then I was like, well, no, because it's Siobhan. It's got to be in a classroom. And so just through the process of just working, and getting a little like, oh, we're running out of time a little bit, it ended up becoming a classroom.
Yes.
But it became like a math classroom. And then I knew that I wanted to have big shapes in the back, like I wanted geometry, but we couldn't make that happen. And I also knew that I wanted, because prime numbers are such a huge part of it, I wanted them to be a part of it. And so I figured what gives us more, what is the word I'm looking for? It's not militant, but like a regimented space, a very specific space.
Segmented?
In a way, yeah. It's like rigid almost is what I was thinking about. Christopher's life would be a graph paper. And then to put all of the numbers in there. And then that became everything.
Yes.
That became all of what we were blocking on. Getting to 27, getting to,
Right.
And then because we had moving lights, that helped us out too. But like the simplicity of that all came just through, we're going to figure it out. Let's figure it out. And then it became special because it was so like segmented or there's a better word. There's a much better word, Patrick, and I can't find it. And I'm a little angry with myself for not finding it.
That's all right. This seems to be the theme of our night.
Yeah. What's the word? Two old men decide to do a podcast.
If this were a phone in, we'd now invite you to phone in what your guess as to what the word is.
Please email us what the word is. Anyway, so there was a huge faith in that we would be able to figure it out. So I think of Curious Incident as probably the most spiritual, creative experience that I've had. I think as an actor, I have jumped through that wall a few times, figured it out spiritually through a leap of faith. but none more as a whole production than Curious Incident.
That I think is really valid, especially with the journey that we went on through it and how many bumps we overcame and how we learned to really trust and lean on one another.
Yes.
To carry the entire group through.
Yeah.
And that the whole vision, the shared vision of being able to do it together came true.
Yeah. Oh, there were times though. I'm not going to pretend like it was smooth sailing.
Oh my
the whole
God!
time. I
Oh
was,
no!
losing my mind.
Oh yeah, we were losing our minds the Monday before.
Yeah.
I can remember turning to one cast member. The first time we ran through the entire show was the Tuesday before we opened.
Yeah.
And that person was not happy that we were going to keep going. And I turned to her and I said, "We have to do this. We have to finish no matter what time it is at night, just to prove to ourselves that we can do it."
Yeah. I mean, we had to at that point. Look, it took a long time to get all the tech stuff right too.
Oh my God!
But our team came together.
Timings of things. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, finding that light.
Oh.
How many times did you have to sit on that desk for me to get you in that light?
Oh my God!
It
please.
just wouldn't. It would reset.
Reset itself.
And then, yeah, those moving lights are great, and yet sometimes they are fickle, and they would, depending wherever the last mark is before. Anyways, not important. I think I know exactly who you're talking about, but we had to get through it.
Yes, we did.
We had to get through it.
Yes, we did.
So I think for us, definitely we are. The theater is a very important spiritual space for us. I think you have more in your life that you demonstrate your spirituality, but for me, I think most of it lives in my theater experience.
Well, there's definitely a spiritual aspect, particularly through that definition. Whereas, paths that I walk involved being connected to other people, and in doing shows and with casts, I enjoy having that connection with them, whether it's on stage or off stage. Ironically enough, Judas Iscariot is a difficult play for me to do in that role that I was in because I'm not connecting with anybody. It's just a monologue.
Your fucking
and I'm only on to the very end. No, your scene partner was brilliant.
He wouldn't even make eye contact with you.
Neither time, no. And there could be a certain separation, not only from performance aspect, but from scheduling aspect with the remainder of the cast.
Yeah.
So there's that part of it, and there also is just the exploration of self, and there's the talk about personal growth and how that in and of itself is a spiritual journey for many people. I won't say everyone, but for many people. And that is something that I strive for when I'm finding a character.
Yeah.
Is what are those parts of me that are alive in this person? How is that, how is it that that's going to come to life through me? And being able to tap those places. And in some cases, there are things that I didn't know existed. The one thing that I really cannot wait for is when somebody trusts me to be a real bad guy on stage.
Oh, yeah.
There's one director out there who has said, if I ever get to do a play that has a really nasty man in it, it's going to be you. That would be fascinating.
Nice.
Yes.
Well, if I ever get a chance to direct again, I will keep that in mind. They just don't let me.
Oh,
unless I make it myself.
You direct more often than that other person that I mentioned. It really is a crime on both counts.
Yeah,
but I'm very biased.
But he can get opportunities. For whatever reason. Anyways,
I will say no more.
All right. So let's talk about some of the myths, the spiritual
myths.
I
can't wait to
myths.
hear the myths.
Spirituality, number one. Spirituality requires religion.
No.
Yeah, we said that. That's horseshit.
Not organized, or what many people may believe is Western religion.
Okay. Yeah, because
spirituality can exist within an organized religion, and it may exist outside of an organized religion. And I wonder if it really is just a human need to put things in a box that call things religion.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that.
I'll get down off of my my pulpit now.
No, this is exactly what a pulpit's for.
Oh, excellent.
You know, that's why you got the good chair.
Oh,
Spiritual people are always peaceful. So yeah, you agree with that one? Is what I'm guessing.
And then Christ destroyed the temple.
While spirituality can often promote peace, spiritual individuals can experience a wide range of emotions and struggles. I mean, sometimes we need spirituality because of those struggles. You know,
there are many who find spirituality as a result of their struggles.
Yeah. And I think probably there's some aggressiveness that people find spirituality in.
Many may.
Yeah. Spirituality is the same as religion. I mean, that's kind of like a little bit of the first one. It's not. Obviously, I thought that your definition early on is religion is about people who are afraid of...
Who are afraid of going to hell.
Afraid of going to hell.
And
spirituality is
for those who have been there.
Yeah. I also think spirituality is for now. I feel like religion sometimes is only focused, well, certainly Christianity is focused on the kingdom of heaven and the afterlife, right?
And we often hear that also about Muslim religion,
right.
Islam. Yeah, they speak very much, and it's especially true in God. Now I'm losing words. If you know the word, please phone in.
Yes, just call us at 555-2368.
When especially, particularly when it comes to extremism.
Yes.
And I'm not just speaking about Islamic extremism.
No.
There's also extremism in Christianity. There's extremism in Judaism. You know, you name it, and just about anything you could possibly imagine. And, you know, I'll go back to facing the dragon, and where that crosses the line of grandiosity.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Spirituality. You must follow certain practices. No. I mean, spirituality is as individual a thing for an individual as there is. It's like your DNA, I would think. Spirituality for you. We can have similar practices, but there isn't anything that has to be done. I don't think. Spirituality is a destination. It's kind of an interesting thought. I don't agree with it. I mean, I think I think the fun of life is that we're constantly learning. It's the thing that I'm always trying to tell my kids is like, yeah, we're sick of being in school and stuff like that, but like life at its best is when we're continuing to learn, where you learn something new. It's an amazing feeling when my 17-year-old teaches me something that I didn't know, like, because he's like deep into myths. And I'll be like, yeah, but what exactly happened to Persephone? And you're like, well, let me tell you. And I'm like, oh, this is a fucking glorious moment driving home from school where he's teaching me something that I'm interested in and that I didn't know. So I always think life at its best is continuing to learn. So is spirituality a destination? I mean, metaphorically, you could think about it because we'd always be traveling to it. You just don't reach it. It's the journey, not the destination.
Agreed. And, you know, there's what do we know about the destination? What is it that we truly know about where we're going to be? Right. It's a mystery.
And also, like, then you attach expectations, which are very, very dangerous and crappy. It's crappy to have these expectations on things that you can only be disappointed in. I guess expectations can work well in some capacities. I just haven't found them yet.
I can tell you that my peace and serenity is in an inverse correlation to my expectations.
Okay,
the higher my expectation, my peace and serenity is in an inverse correlation to my expectations.
Okay.
When my expectations are high, typically, my expectations are high. My peace and serenity is going to be low.
Yeah.
Because all I'm depending upon what I'm expecting to happen. What I call the haves and the needs.
Yeah.
I have to have this. I need this to happen. And when it doesn't happen, forget it. I'm shattered.
We were talking about this before too. Like, I call it futuring. Like that's what we called it in
Yes.
acting school, and it's never done me any favors.
No, never does me any
yeah,
favors either. I've got a terrible projector in my head.
Yeah.
Terrible. I mean, it all looks well and good at first, because it's such a pretty little picture. It's going to be a really great movie, and then the next thing you know, the film breaks.
It's burning.
Oh,
it's burning
boom!
through.
God, see ya.
Also, it makes me think of an interesting thing. We may have talked about this as well. Like, my eldest wrote a play, and it had his inner voice that he called the it in it. And his mom and I were giving notes because we like to give the kids notes. No, he was like obsessed with getting this play right. He really wanted to, like, he's got a playwright's mentality. And I said, look, first thing I said was, look, you're going to have a due date for this play, and you're going to hand it in, and you will be finished with it based upon the due date. But I think you're a playwright, and so that means you're probably never going to be finished with rewriting this play for the rest of your life, because that's what playwrights do. Like, that's just part of creativity. It's going to mean something to you in a different way. Anyways, so it had this it, and it was mean. It was like very parallel to his voice inside him. And I said to him, the problem with this voice is you believe this voice is trying to help. And I was like, as an outsider reading your play, this voice, this it, has no good intentions. There are no good intentions in this voice. They are trying to hurt you more than anything. And I think you have to accept that they're not here to help. They're not here to help. And you even say it in the play. You're like, how has that been working for you?
Yes.
Like in your third act,
God,
you
love
say
that
back
phrase.
to the it. How has that been working for you? Being mean and stuff like that. You know it doesn't motivate you.
Yeah.
So we have to accept the fact that this internal voice, this futuring, that's what made me think of
Yes.
it, is really up to no good. It's not here to help us out in any way.
I have two stories if you're open to them.
Yeah.
So in a practice that I've been a part of for many years, I have many teachers, and one of them is a fire teacher. We light fires, and we do ceremonies around fires. So I was at his house, and we were to build a fire using only things that I found in the woods, and it was to be a one-match fire. I had one match to start it. And him being a prepared teacher, of course, when the first match didn't light the fire, he, of course, had other matches ready for me.
Right.
He's a good teacher, very supportive.
Right.
Well, we couldn't get this thing going. Between all of his incredible knowledge and me with that desire to learn, it couldn't work. He had only one rule. I could not use leaves. I could not use dried, dead leaves.
Okay.
Because that's just too easy. And every time we'd get closer to this fire starting, until finally we were down to our last match, the fire started to light, and my teacher went and he picked up a pile of dead leaves from the side and he put it down in the fire and it went up. And the two of us sat for a little while. And the lessons that each of us got from that, my own, was that I was so concentrating on building that perfect fire that I got lost in the details of it and trying to make it perfect.
Right.
And the lesson that he learned, that he also imparted on me, is sometimes it's okay to break one's own rules and beliefs in order to help someone else achieve what it is that they want.
That's pretty beautiful. And here's the thing. It's kind of the reason why I made this podcast. You know, I call it The Last Will because it's like, when am I going to leave my kids? And although I talk about my kids, it's really what it is. So when I'm gone, Sawyer, I hope you fucking heard what Patrick just said, because that's a huge, huge, beautiful lesson that is so appropriate for all the struggles that you've been like dealing with right now. I have all of these little like meme writings and things that I've been sending him because he's been struggling with that. He struggles with that perfection thing with trying to get it perfect and sticking to rules and then being hard on himself and stuff like that. And so that's really what this whole podcast is about. We could retire the podcast. We're done now.
The second
We figured it out.
Yep, we're all done. The second story
Yep.
is within that same practice. It involves building a structure. It's a structure that's a half moon onto the earth.
Okay.
It might be called a lodge. And there are ways of using tree saplings and then covering it. And the goal is to be able to have that half moon and it being a certain height and everything being being level and equal, so that
Right.
it has that beautiful round shape. And I became a teacher to others, and I would show other men how to build these things. And I had built so many myself, and none of them ever came out in that perfect round shape. All of them had a couple of bumps here and there. And I remember standing back at one point and somebody pointing out all of these bumps, someone that was I was teaching this to
Yeah.
for the first time. And he said, yes, it's just like my life. It's never going to be perfect,
Yeah.
but it really is the intention and the love that's put into it that matters. And it's going to be able to help us in doing what it is that we need to do.
Yeah. That's
It's-
a beautiful thing.
But so often I forget that my life is so bumpy.
No, also fucking Sally Rose says this to me a lot of the time. So like she wasn't there for the funeral, right? But she kind of gave me
It's right, your funeral. Yes.
right. I don't know that she loved the idea,
Okay.
and I get that from her. But she kind of gave me a eulogy, like a few days before, because she was just talking about her appreciation for me. It was a birthday, you're nice too.
Of course.
And one of the things that she constantly reminds me of is that when it doesn't have to do with me, I'm the one who helps her see the beauty in things that aren't typically thought of as beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's just a reminder, and that feels like it inspires her a lot of the time, that I will be able to find certain beauty in an idea and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that I have to have my friend point out this thing that I do, because I don't see it.
Of course.
And we just have to be reminded often that mistakes are beautiful gifts. I know creatively we talk about this a lot, that the mistakes are where the real true gifts are found. And when we just can change our perspective a little bit and not think about the perfection of the dome,
Right.
but really just appreciate the effort that went into to creating it, then all of those bumps become beautiful, beautiful reminders of how we live.
There is a culture in Africa that when a child is born, the elder women of the village come together and they create a song that becomes a part of that child's identity. As that child grows up, if they do something wrong,
Yeah.
if they break a law, or if they break one of the tenets of the tribe, they're brought forward in front of the entire tribe, and the tribe sings that person their song that was given to them when they were a child, to remind them of who it is that they are.
Oof.
Because in that moment when they broke the law or tenet, they forgot who they were.
Yeah.
And we all have that opportunity when we say beautiful things to other people, to really sing their song to them and show them who it is that they are. I love saying nice things to people about themselves for
Wow.
that very reason. It's
Yeah,
wonderful. And I can get in receiving those sort of things when people say really, really wonderful things to me that I may not have seen myself.
Yeah.
Sometimes I will cry with gratitude because I'm a big weepy Irish guy. But it reminds me that somebody is singing my song to me, and it's beautiful.
Patrick, I don't think it gets any better than that. I mean, I think we all have to have our songs sung to us to remind us. That's a beautiful thing.
And there may be some people out there who are saying, well, what the fuck does that have to do with spirituality? Yet, here's a culture that really doesn't have an awful lot of exposure to Western culture.
Right.
And yet they have these practices that are inspired by something that's greater than themselves, which in this case is the whole. It's
Yeah.
it's
The
their
tribe.
people.
Yeah.
And all that they may be, everything is for the good of the people. And there are certain spiritual practices. I mean, I think the vast majority, if not all spiritual practices, when they're at their core, really is about doing good for the people, to help the people.
We need, obviously, we need a lot more of that in this country at this moment, right now, thinking about the whole and not the individual. Anyways,
And yet it starts with the individual.
yes, I mean I don't know that's irony, but like it's got to come from the individual. The individual has to take care of want to take care of the whole. God, get your sentences out, Matthew.
Or even just the person next to them.
Yeah, love thy neighbor.
Love thy
Who
neighbor.
said that? Was it Moses? I don't think Moses said that.
It was one of the 10 Commandments.
Love
Or was
thy
that
neighbor.
originally part of the 15? And the 5
10.
crack.
Patrick,
Matt.
you gonna come back? You gotta come back and do this again. You know too much. I enjoy talking to you.
I love talking to you. I don't
hope-
know nothing.
I hope the people enjoyed that fucking.
I hope so, too.
That tied up really nice.
If they're all still awake.
Well, I think so.
I hope so.
I think so. Hey, look, I don't mean any real damage when I challenge religions. I think everything that we love needs a little bit of challenging, and you don't have to agree with me on my take on religions for sure. It can work very, very well for you, and I really don't judge you for that. I'm just talking about my experience. So, with that being said, thanks for listening. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Last Will podcast. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Patrick and myself. I hope it was clear that I didn't really tie him down to a chair and force him to talk. He came over. This was a scheduled conversation. I think you guys all know that. But really interesting deep dive into. Obviously, I got a little scrappy when it came to religion. But a deep dive into what spirituality means to us. And I think we could probably go even deeper. I'm sure there's another episode on this topic in us somewhere. But I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Patrick and I. Thank you for listening to the Last Will podcast. If you like what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe. That does a lot of good stuff for us. If you're looking for us, you can find us at thelastwillpodcast.com or Matt Young at The Last Will Podcast. If you want to drop us a line, you want us to cover any subjects, we will do that for you. So that's it. Thank you for listening. Onward, forward.